Welcome to the Heart of a Viking. This channel offers elementary art lessons taught by Mrs. Minto from the Cape Henlopen School District in Delaware. I look forward to virtually creating with you. There are new lessons posted weekly. Subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss a single one. So go grab your art supplies and your thinking caps and let's begin. Alright, art seekers, it is time to begin our next project called Snowman and Melting Snowman. This project is a contrast of warm and cool colors, which we'll get to more about eventually here. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking one of my two pieces of paper that are the same size, and I am starting to draw my snowman. I want him to be fairly large, so his head is near the top, but I left just enough room for a hat in case you didn't notice. And then his tummy's pretty big, and then the bottom part of him touches the bottom edge of the paper. I wanted to make sure he was actually sitting on the ground. Perfect. Now I'm going to add some details to this snowman to make him look a little bit more, like a snowman that you might see if you built one. So maybe a top hat, maybe a scarf, maybe some arms or some buttons, maybe a face of some kind. You can be creative. You do not have to make yours just like mine. So I'm going to go ahead and speed the video up a little bit, and you can be creative and add the details you want to your snowman. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my crayons, and it is important that you use crayons. If you are working at home and you only have markers or colored pencils or something else besides crayons, this might not work as well, but it won't be impossible. Use whatever you have, obviously, but I'm going to go ahead and use crayons. Now, if you notice, I'm starting with white on my white paper because I know that in a little while, probably next time we meet to finish up our project, we're going to be using some watercolor paints. And I know that wax resists watercolor paints. So that means that wherever I color, I am protecting it from getting paint in that area. So I'm definitely going to color my whole snowman white so that later, whenever I'm painting, I don't have to worry about some paint splashing into my snowman and messing him up. So I'm going ahead and coloring all of my snowman white. Then I'll switch to my colors for the other details, like his hat and his eyes and his scarf and all of those cool things I added to my snowman. So you can do the same thing. White for his body, and then finally you can add the colors for everything else. Okay, so I'm going to grab my white crayon and I'm going to do one last thing. I'm going to use my white crayon to make some snow that's falling around my snowman. And I'm just drawing little white circles and pressing pretty hard. I know you can't see it, just like I couldn't see myself coloring the snowman himself, but trust me, it's there, and whenever we paint, it'll look fantastic. Just make sure you press hard. That's the trick to making this work. Make sure you press hard. Okay, so now I'm going to put this snowman aside and bring out my other piece of paper. Now this one is different. This one, the snowman has melted. So this is his head, and I'm putting his head way down at the bottom instead of up at the top. And I'm making it kind of lumpy. It's not a perfect circle because poor guy has already begun to melt. And then instead of making a body, I'm going to make one big puddly puddle because this poor guy has begun to melt, and his tummy and the bottom part of his snowman has already turned into slush. So I just made a lumpy old lump puddle for his body. Next, I'm going to add a couple of details. So similar to my other snowman, I'm going to add some eyes and a carrot nose, but maybe I'll make them so they're a little bit droopy. So instead of putting the hat on his head, I'm making it look like it's slid off and it's now on the ground. And then maybe making his eyes kind of on the side instead of, like in the middle looking straight. Makes them look like they slid down. His nose too, his little carrot nose. Poor guy. He's melting. It's such a hot, warm day. And then normally I'd add a scarf and buttons and all of those kinds of things, and even his face, but I'm going to make those like they sort of just kind of fell off. Those are like the little stones for his mouth, and his arms are just going to be like floating in his puddle. whatever you think is best. Just we want it to look like the snowman has melted. And then finally, once all of that has been drawn, I'm going to go ahead and color my snowman. I'm going to start with white, just like I did before. White's going to be for the puddle and also for the snowman's head. And then I'll move on to all of the smaller details. There's also one other difference. We do not want to make any snow falling in this picture. This is going to be the one where the sun's coming out and it's warming up. So we don't want any snow falling. In contrast, if you would like to make a sun up in the sky, you could. I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave mine as it is, and I'm going to use warm colors later when I paint it. But you could put a sun in the sky if you really wanted something up there, just no snow falling. Okay, and that's where we're going to end for today. So put these two works of art in a safe spot, and when we return next week, we will be painting if you have some paint. If not, you can use crayons, no big deal, or colored pencils or markers, whatever you have. But we're going to be painting the background, one warm and one cool. All right, I can't wait to see you back here next week at the Heart of a Viking.